Hey there, I'm going to show you how to do the Arachnid Magic Stitch, and it's a pretty stitch. Reason I called it Arachnid Magic is these really look spider-like to me. They have a lot of texture and pop right up. I'll show you here from the side. They just pop right up. So there's a lot of texture in this stitch. And then you have this coming down here. But these really pop up. And then if you look at the other side, this is a reversible stitch. So here we go. We have the spiders popping up here, and then the stitch coming down here. Okay, so when I was developing this stitch, I actually was having a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm using landscape yarn. It's number 4 yarn, and it's in the color Perfect Storm. And the loom is a Cindy Wood loom, 3/4 inch, and it is a 30 pegs. So it's kind of like a smaller round loom in the set. And it comes in the Nifty Knitter Replacement set, this loom. Okay, so how do we do it? Well, first of all, we're going to have to get our pegs grouped. So I've used 2 for the end pegs on each end to do the end that I'm doing, and I'm doing an owl eye end, which is one of the ends that I do here. And okay, so it's sets of 4. So I have 3 pegs, and I marked number 4 peg. That's this set of 4. I marked 3 pegs, and then the yellow peg, that's this set of 4, and 3, and I marked the end peg, that's this set of 4. But the last set will only be 3 pegs. And that's so that they look the same on both ends. So we have the 3 pegs here, the yellow here, and it's marked. I marked these because they're going to have a different stitch on them. So you need groups of 4 plus 3 plus whatever you do for your end pegs. Okay, so in this case I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 pegs. So I'm odd. Okay, and for the cast on, it's just a stitch video, so I'm not going to show a whole video, but I did the crochet chain cast on. I usually do. That's it at the end. And then you could see the sides are looking like this. I like the way that they look, and I like the way that they're blending in with the stitch so nicely. Okay, so the stitch is 2 rows, and what you're going to have to do is learn how to do the rows. And if you there's a little gear at the bottom right hand of the video. If you slow it down, you can if you press that, then you can slow it down, and you can slow it down quite a lot. You're fully in control of how fast the video goes. So I'm just going to pull out some yarn, get this out of my road here, and we'll do the stitch. So whichever way you're going is going to be the row you're doing, since it's 2 rows. So when I came this way, that was my initial row after I did my cast on, and I did a row of owl eye stitch, and then I actually came back this way, and then I would be over here for my second row. And so how I'm doing the second row is we have our 3 pegs here and our 1 peg here. Now the yellow peg, so you want to count in 3 and then somehow mark your 4th peg, 1, 2, 3, 4, because on the 4th peg it's always going to be the owl eye stitch on 1 peg, so it'll always be the same stitch. But on these 3 pegs we're going to be reversing them. So for row 2 it'll be reversed to what we do on row 1. And I'm just going to put you on pause for a moment. I have a bit of an interruption. Okay, so we're ready to come back. I've done the edge. I'll show you on the other edge. So we're going to do our first of the 3 pegs. So how these 3 pegs are treated as whenever we get to them, we're going to put the yarn from the 2 sides onto the middle peg. Just like this. Okay, so we've got 3 loops on the middle peg, and these 2 are blank, and now it's how we're going to handle this. And we're going to handle these 2 with the new way I found to do yarn overs that created some really cool stitches I liked. So what I do is I come around in an E-wrap motion, and I come around again so that I have E-wrapped it twice, and then I'm going to do a purl over on this E-wrap. And the purl over stitch is not done like a purl, because here's the working yarn is up here. We've done the E-wrap. We're going to come up from the bottom, and we'd be working this would be down here. If we're doing purl over, we'd be coming down here and scooping up this if it were doing a normal purl. But because we're doing a purl over stitch, and this is Teresa Higby's stitch, and she gave me permission to use her stitch in patterns, and so I've been using the stitch to do all kinds of things. I've been really exploring and seeing what all you can do with this stitch. Anyway, you come down and you scoop the yarn from the bottom, and you go up and you scoop up your working yarn. Okay, you can see it here sliding through my fingers, and so that you've got a loop, and then you go over and you just snug it up. And you don't want to snug it up too tight. You want to make sure that you'll be able to knit it over and continue to work with it. And when you come back again, you want this to be loose enough that you can move it over onto the middle stitch again the other way when we do the reverse stitch. You want to make sure that it's left loose enough. And then we're going to come over, and because we're going this way, whenever we go this way, we are going to purl these 3. So I'm going to purl these 3 together. Whoop. You know what? I'm not sure now which way it is. I think maybe I was knitting this way, so I'm going to have to look at my notes. But you purl one way and you knit the other, but I need to check and be sure, so we'll just hold on a second. Okay, I'm back. My head's on straight. I purled going this way, so I knit when I go this way. So I'm just going to knit these 2 over. And so that's the only difference. When you go this way, you're going to be knitting those 2 over. This will be treated the same. You're going to come over and do the E-wrap and E-wrap around it again, and then come in from the bottom and scoop up the top yarn and move it over and just tighten it slightly. And what this does is, yarn overs will usually leave a big eyelet, but because we've done this, we have a smaller eyelet. And so that's, and it's different, right? It creates this pattern. Okay, so then we're going to come over to the peg with yellow marker and U-wrap it. So we just do it. Oh, this this yarn is splitting. We just do a U-wrap over it, and then we come back and we go over in front of it again. That's how you do the owl eye on one peg, and knit it over. And then we come over here, and here we've got these 3, so we take the yarn and we move it onto the middle peg on both sides. And you notice they're moving over quite easily, and that's because I've kept it very loose. So I have 3 yarns on there, and just so I'm going to work ahead, I'm going to come over to these 3 and just move over the yarns now, and then they're done when I get over there. And I'm having trouble getting this one on this angle, but I'm going to persevere and do it. Otherwise I would have to pause the video and do it at a different angle, because I'm not sure I could keep it in the camera. There. And then here's our last group of 3. And so I'm just going to move them over now. And you certainly don't have to do that. You can do it as you go, but I really like to do them ahead of time, because then I come and I see them and I remember what I'm doing, even if I've had to put it down and do a bunch of things and come back hours later. I can see what's going on easier. And I know with these blank pegs that I'm always going to E-wrap, E-wrap again, come from the bottom and scoop up the top yarn, making a loop and just flipping it over and tightening. And because I'm using roving yarn, I have to do it this way, but you can get to the point where you just flip it over really easy if you're using a yarn that is forgiving that way. And then knit over, and then come over here, E-wrap it twice and scoop it up, tighten it, come over here to do a U-wrap over, knit it over, come back, knit it over again, and then whenever we're at an empty peg, we're going to E-wrap it and come over and E-wrap it again and come under and scoop up that top yarn and flip the loop over. And then we're going to knit this one over and do an E-wrap, come back around again, come in from the bottom, whoop, in from the bottom, scoop it up, and then snug it up. And then we come over to the yellow peg, and so the marked peg always gets owl eye on one peg. So the U-wrap, come back, and then wrap in front of it again and knit it over. And then you do the E-wrap on here and E-wrap it again. Come down to do a purl over on top of that E-wrap and just knit it over and snug it up. And then do your U-knit and knit these 2 together, 3 together. Do your E-wrap and then come and do the purl over. And then for the end stitch, we're just going to knit this over and come and knit over the 2 like an owl eye stitch, and then come back over the 2 again, and then just come over this one like that. I'm just holding the yarn there and just going over it. And then we're going to move the 2 stitches onto the 1 stitch. And this one, I think I can do it turning this way. But this is why you want to keep them really loose. But if I can do it, you can do it. Because I'm using landscape yarn and it has no stretch at all. 0 stretch. So It's probably one of the hardest to move over like that. Now when we're going this way, we do the same thing here. We just E-wrap it again, come under, over, and flip it over like that. Snug it up, and then we're going to purl. So that's the change. When we're going the other direction, we're going to purl the 3 yarns together. So come up, get the loop, which is hard with this yarn, and it can be hard to purl over 3, so that's another reason to keep it really, really loose. And then we E-wrap and E-wrap again, do the purl over. You're coming up the knit way when you do it, and this would be a knit stitch if you took it all off the loom, but all off the peg, but we're just flipping it over, leaving it on the peg. And if you find you're too tight, you can just loosen it like that. And then we do the owl eye stitch on this peg. And then we come over here and move over these 2 onto this middle peg. This one seems to be really hard to move when I'm going this way. So I'll just move the loom like this and do it. It should still be in the camera if I do it that way. And then I'm just going to move the other ones over too. So here's my yellow peg, here's my next group of 3. Let's try putting it over first. Oh, it doesn't want to go over very good when it's going this way, so I have to make the loop bigger like that and then just put it on this way. It's easier for me. And then like this. But if you keep your stitches loose, it'll be a lot easier to do moving these. Like this stretch is good, but this loop gets really, really small this way for some reason. And there we go. So I moved them all over. So I can knit over 3. So this is a yarn over, knit over 3, and this is the yarn over I'm doing. You won't have seen it anywhere else because this is the yarn over that I figured out here with the purl over. And like that. And then we come over here and we purl over the 3 stitches. And over, and then E-wrap like that, come over. So every time you hit an empty peg, you're doing that E-wrap with the purl over, and then whenever you hit your marked peg, you're doing owl eye. And over to do the E-wrap with the purl over. And then purling the 2 pegs when we're going this way. The 3 loops, that is. And I've kept it so loose that I should be able to move it over with my fingers. And then empty peg, so we E-wrap it and do the purl over. And then we hit the marked peg, we do the owl eye. Empty peg, do the E-wrap like that and purl it over. And this one's just a normal purl, 3 pegs, or 3 loops. Okay, I can speak really. And then we do this and that. And we come to the end pegs, we just do the owl eye end. So we hit that one over, we come over the 2 of them. And you can do another kind of an end if you'd like. This is just the end that I liked with it. And I come back and knit them over. and then knit this one over again. And then I'm just going to be moving the pegs over again, and when I go this way I knit the two together. So that's all there is to it. And we've done another row. We can take another look at it. So here we have, the reason I called it Arachnid is that these all look like spiders coming down here to me. And they have a lot of texture. They come up, and then the owl eye just comes down like this, down the side, in that kind of a pattern. And it gives you a very lacy look, but with a lot of texture. So the owl eye just has a little texture, but these arachnids just kind of pop right up. And if you go to the other side, because we knit them over and then purl them over, they pop up just as much this way, and owl eye looks a bit different here, but still gives a nice effect. And to a glance it just looks like it's reversible, because they look a lot the same. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this stitch. It's not really that complicated. It may look like it, but it's not. You're doing the same thing both ways, except one way you're knitting them together, one way you're purling them together, but it's just always moving them and then treating the yarn overs the same way, and then treating your mark peg the same way. So it's really not that difficult, although I'm sure when you first see all these things it looks really complicated, but you're continually doing the same thing. So after you do it a few times, you always know when you when you hit the empty peg what you do, when you hit the yellow peg what you do, and you can almost do it in your sleep. You can, but at first it may not seem that way, but it gives you quite a nice stitch with an amazing amount of texture. And these arachnids, these spiders, look really, really cool. I just don't know if the camera really picks up what they look like. The texture they have. Maybe we can look at them upside down and it will show more. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the stitch, and if you were doing this, you would just keep going and do the bind off, and I have a bind off that matches the cast on that I told you about. And I will eventually have a project video in this, but I have created so many stitches that I would be making you wait forever for some of them if you had to wait for me to make projects. So I'm going to be releasing quite a few things as just stitch videos, and it may be quite a while till I get the projects, or it may be soon. It just all depends. But anyway, until I see you again, bye.